Hey guys, I did a YouTube video about 7 days ago on a specific trade setup. It was the trading the power bar off the open using pre-market support and resistance and focusing on the Qs. Could be the futures or the Qs or TQQQ, TQQQ, whatever you trade in relation to the Qs. That could be options as well. And I wanted to revisit that trade because it's worked extremely well. But the question is it a fluke? Is this trade just worked this well forever? And I had a couple of thoughts on this. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you I know everything there is to know about the market. That's one of the things that I've learned over the past 30 years is that I don't know everything that has to do with the market. But I have some thoughts around why it's working so well that I'll share with you. Just three quick things that I think are impacting why this trade is working well. And then I'll go over the trade again a little bit quicker than I did in the first video because I've already did a video about how the trade works, but I had some questions and I'll answer some of those as I go through this video. But if it is going to continue to work, like I said, I have a few things that I wanted to throw out there as possibilities as to why it's working so incredibly well right now. One of those things is that we are hitting new highs in the Qs and NASDAQ. So as well as the S&P. One of the things that happens when you get that type of price action hitting new highs, new all-time highs, is you don't have resistance levels anymore, right? It's something, whereas in a normal situation, right, you've got support and resistance, but now the market is doing something I call open field running, right? It's moving higher at certain points without any resistance levels. When you think about that, it's literally as if everyone who's ever bought the Qs and owns the Qs is up. So you literally have no natural sellers who are losing money at that point. Any selling being done is taking profit. Obviously, I'm excluding any like hedge trading and things like that. But that's one of the factors. The second factor is as we hit those new highs, the pullbacks can be a little bit dramatic because you get traders in there thinking, I just bought the top, right? So when you get a pullback, and I have this on my screen now, this pullback in Qs, you get I just bought the top, we're getting a strong reversal, and we're breaking through some support levels, which I'll show you in a second. And as we break those levels, you're getting strong moves to the downside. So you're getting both strong moves to the upside and strong moves to the downside on the past couple of weeks as this trade has played out. So you have those two factors, but I think there's also a third factor that should be considered with this, and that is the time of year that we're in. It's July, volume is lower in the market. We'll have that until we get through August and kids go back to school here in the US, and summer vacation, right, starts winding down before volume picks up again. So that's another factor that I think is helping with the moves, because once you get a move in a certain direction, it's tending to be a little bit exaggerated. And I'll show you right now, what I'm talking about. And again, how this trade is working so well. Let's start with today. And here's the setup for the trade, right? I mark the pre-market level, which is basically here, the pre-market highs and lows. And again, this is Qs. This is a 2-minute chart. That was a question that I got. I go back to the 4 a.m. pre-market open when I'm marking these. The low, you don't have to be to the, well, I'm not to the penny when I'm marking these. I'm looking at an area of support and resistance. Support and resistance generally is an area, right? It's not necessarily to the penny that you have to be. So I'm not worried about marking to the penny on these. If I get a wild candle like this, you'll notice, and let me make this a little bit bigger where I'm marking this. You'll notice there's a candle over here at the 4 a.m. open that had a very large tail and went up to this 564.5 level. So above where I marked my pre-market high. I'm ignoring part of this tail when I do this mark because the prices closer to the open are more important to me than the prices at 4 a.m. So if I get, and this was again one of the questions I got, if I get a crazy candle with a very wide range at 4 a.m., I'm allowing myself to ignore part of that candle. Here is the low, which was set earlier from that 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern time level. And then I'm going to move this over so I make sure everyone can see it. And this was the open. This was the power bar. So what I'm looking for now is a power bar off the open. Someone asks, what's a power bar? A power bar is a bar that you can obviously tell that it's different than the other bars. It's larger than the other bars around it. And I'll zoom in a little bit more to make it clearly obvious. Look at all the candles here that are tiny. These are doji candles. Now you get this massive power bar move lower. My trade is to short below that power bar and use the top of the power bar, which should be in this trade near either the pre-market high. If I'm shorting, it's near the pre-market high. And if I'm getting long, it's near the pre-market low. And I'll show you that in just a second. The short takes place here. That's my entry. My stop is here. And this power bar is fairly large. And if I don't get in on this power bar, I'm a little bit reluctant to take that much of a stop, especially if you're trading something like futures or you're trading options, something that has more leverage. I'm reluctant to do that. So in this case, with this big of a power bar, my stop, I'm going to look back and see where the last support was. And I'm going to look to use either around a 50% of the power bar or a tad higher, a 50% retracement would be totally fine. And then, continue the move down, which is just about what we had in this situation. So I might use 50%. I might use a previous support level, which is now a resistance level. If you can't tell, I'm big on support resistance. That's what these levels are, these pre-market levels, support and resistance. So that's most likely my stop is around this area as opposed to all the way back up to the pre-market high, which is also the origination of the power bar. So that's my short. This is my stop. And you can see how this trade played out. We had a little bit of a retrace and then the market got smashed. And this was a very profitable short. And when I'm looking to cover this short, one level I'm looking at is the pre-market low. That's a possible target depending on sort of where I enter the short in relation to that pre-market low. Obviously, if I'm entering the short in this area, I'm not looking just to make 10 cents or 20 cents in that trade. So if it's really close to that pre-market low, that's also telling me that this power bar is likely very powerful and is going to force a move lower. So I'm looking for a break then of that pre-market low, and then I'm looking for my next support level. This is a great target where this support is. That's a great first target, is that next support area. Remember, support resistance act like magnets. But does that mean that I have to cover at that point? And the answer is no, but that's a great place for me to move a stop close to that. So move a trailing stop close to that. You can see what happened in the market this morning. We went down a lot more than this first level of support, which when you're breaking support levels, and this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, when you're breaking support levels like this, you're getting some fear coming into the market. You break multiple support levels and you don't find support until you get to this level, which was a support level from a couple of days ago. And I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but there was actually a nice buy setup as you had this climactic move lower that I actually took this morning after the short. That is the trade from the short side. Let me show you the long side, which set up really well yesterday and was, again, just an incredible move higher. So this, again, I'm marking the pre-market highs here, and I'm marking the pre-market lows, which are here. Now, what I'm looking for is a power bar, and I'll move this closer now. What I'm looking for is a power bar near those pre-market levels. This, to me, is that power. It doesn't have to be exactly at the level. And this is actually positive or bullish to see it hit the low and start moving higher even before the market open. That's a bullish signal. What I note when I see this power bar, and again, for me, this is the buy signal here. That's the buy, and that's the stop at the base of the power bar. Again, this power bar is not too big that I don't want to use, another level. I'm okay with a power bar of that size in my trading. That's the buy level. What I note with this power bar is that it finished above all of this resistance from the pre-market. So that's a positive, right? I'm always looking to the left when I'm trading power bars. I'm looking to the left to see if it cleared resistance, if it's a bullish power bar that's moving higher. And I'm looking to the left to see if it's cleared support, if it's a bearish power bar that's moving lower. Again, where it comes from, I'm looking for the power bar and I'm looking for where it comes from. This is close enough to the pre-market for me to take this trade. And again, what I mentioned near the beginning of the video, the market is making all-time highs as it breaks higher in this move. So there are no natural sellers that are creating a resistance area at this point, which is, again, something that I think that's helping this trade right now and helping it to be successful. So just to review, that's the trade, that's the setup. Buying a power bar that forms near either pre-market support or shorting after a power bar that forms near pre-market resistance. Your target can be various things. Again, I'm not going to go into exactly what your target should be. There's multiple ways you can set a target. But I think it's working so well, again, because we're at all-time highs. When we get a pullback, I think you're getting some of the mentality of, I just bought the high and now I'm in trouble. So you're getting a little bit sharper move lower. And we're in July and there just isn't as much volume to absorb the moves that are happening. So we're getting much more successful moves when this trade sets up that are very profitable if you are taking, this trade on a regular basis as part of your morning setup, as part of what you're looking for as a setup in the morning. A lot of you asked for the cheat sheet. I did a cheat sheet around this trade, how it works, what's going on with it. If you have stuck around to the end of this video, then if you don't have the cheat sheet, you can comment stock in the comments and I'll get that to you. I think a few hundred or so of you already asked for it. It's not a different cheat sheet, so you don't need to ask for it a second time. But if you don't have the cheat sheet and you'd like the cheat sheet on this trade, which I think has worked since I did the video, like about 80 to 90% of the time since I did that video, this trade has worked. And not only worked, but worked for, fairly substantial gains if you, again, held this trade as it played out. So if you want the cheat sheet, comment stock, I'll send it to you. If this video is helpful, please hit like and subscribe. If you have questions about this trade or anything else about the market, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, so I know a couple of things. Feel free to put it in the comments and I'm happy to respond to that. And thanks for watching.